All right, baby, here we go. Andrew Cooper here, aka Coop a Fiasco. And this is, of course, Coop's Fantasy Football Fiasco, sponsored by FFPC. I'm here with Fantasy Alarm and Bettor Sports Network. Today, it's Friday. This is the fun show, baby. This is where we do the DFS stuff, we do the picks. I'm going to bring on my guest shortly, but first, I just want to say something real quick because a lot of people, they were eliminated from their fantasy leagues already. A lot of us are still in it. So we're going to keep on grinding. Obviously, we're going to talk about fantasy today, but with people eliminated, we got to we got to add a little extra something. When I get eliminated from my leagues, I lean into DFS. I lean into a little bit of betting. And I just want to say real quick, when we give betting advice, we treat it. I personally treat it similar to if somebody were to ask me for a beer that I like. Right, you come to me and say, "Hey, Coop, what's a beer that you like?" I give a craft beer. They say, "Okay, what's your favorite light beer?" And I'm like, "Okay, Coors Light." But I'm not going to go out and tell you to drink 30 Coors Lights. Though people do have problems with that, right? And same thing goes for betting. Like I'll tell you what I'm doing to make the games funner, to make a little money, but got to make sure you are responsible with this stuff. And it's okay if you can't handle that kind of stuff. There's people that can help you out. Shoot me a DM. I can point you in the right direction. I'm obviously not a person that can help with that, but I just want to make that clear up front. That when we talk about these games and all these different things, and we say, "Oh, I like this, I like that," we're probably not betting all of them. We're probably not putting a ton of money on them, and just be responsible with it. That's all. So today, because a lot of people are potentially out of their fantasy playoffs or whatever, I did want to bring in somebody that had specialty in that. Not only is he a monster at fantasy football and DFS, but he's one of my go-to guys for this stuff. When I see something weird with the sports books, I send him a DM on Twitter. I'm like, "Yo, Connor Allen, what is the deal with this?" And usually he's got an answer for me. So let's bring him on. Connor Allen of 4for4 of Betspert, good friend of mine. What's up, buddy? How we doing today? Let's get him pulled up here, Tony. There he is.
What's up, Coop? Appreciate you having me on, man. What a blast to finally talk, over the air. We've met a couple times in person, and it's always a great time. So no better time to chop it up and talk some ball.
Hell yeah, dude. I had a blast with you guys in Vegas, man. Maybe too much fun, in fact. But yeah,
just a little bit. I think we all did. So
I think we did. Yeah. When you guys grabbed me, the thing is, I was having the exact right amount of fun. And then you and Dalton Cates grabbed me and were like, "Hey, we're going out to another place." That's when it went. That's when we went push the fun meter to the limit. But yeah, let's get into some of the stuff here. First, we just want to say shout out chat. Anthony, what's happening, brother? People trickling in, hanging out with us. Definitely get your questions in, especially because we have a special guest here. Usually we have fantasy exclusive guys on, but if you like prop bets, you like stuff like that, get those questions in today. It helps us out if you ask during the actual game that we're talking about, because we're going to go in order and hit on all the games, right? So try and do that for us. But yeah, first I just want to ask you real quick, man, what were your thoughts on Thursday night football? I imagine you didn't have it capped this way, did you?
No, I was surprised to see Bailey Zappi fly over all of his props. Ezekiel Elliott, like 22 carries, 68 yards. It's crazy because it just worked out all in the Patriots' favor. So I did not expect it to happen that way, but it was way more interesting than I thought. Like 30-point total, lowest total in the last 30 years. So I think it exceeded expectations in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a Patriots fan, I had mixed feelings on it. The one thing, last minute, Howard Bender told me that he is in a survivor league with 25K on the line and only a couple teams left. And he took the Ravens knowing that a bunch of people took the Steelers. So in the back of my mind, I was still rooting for the Patriots for his sake, even though I really, at this point, I'm rooting for draft picks, right? Like as a diehard deep cut fan, you almost have to root against a team like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was like a loss for Patriots fans, honestly. I mean, at this point,
it kind of was, dude. It kind of was, dude. We were joking, me and the boys saying like, "Oh, now we have a QB, Bailey Zappi. We can draft Marvin Harrison Jr." Which a non-Nanduri big Ohio State fan did not take kindly to that. He does not want that happening. But shout out Toronto Dave in the chat. Toronto Dave, give us an over/under on the number of games we get through this week. Notoriously, we are terrible at it. There are 15 games this week. Last week, the over/under was set. The number was set by Hope at 8, and we did 7. So just missed it. Yeah, shout out to Non. TD, give me an over/under for number of games we get through today. We're going to be doing a lot of props, so it's going to be tough. Let's get right into the first one here. Looking at 1 o'clock games, we've got Rams at Ravens. This is an interesting one. I will say Lamar Jackson he was sick. Rashad Bateman was sick. So apparently there's a little bit of illness floating around there, which is always a bit of concern, but he's back out there. When it comes to that stuff, do you if you hear, "Oh, there's an illness floating around," Do you take that into effect, or just kind of is not something that crosses your radar when you're putting in your bets?
Yeah, I mostly ignore it unless it's serious. Like I don't know. I John Harbaugh's comments were just basically like, oh, he should be back tomorrow, and he is. He practiced today, just in minor illness. So I didn't take that too much into effect here. But this game, I will say off the top here, the weather I think is going to be really bad in this game. We're looking at rain similar to the Chicago San Francisco game from 2 years ago. Wind speeds around 20 miles per hour. So I think that expectations should be ratcheted down a little bit for this one.
Yeah, and I just want people to put in perspective on this rain thing. They're calling it like an atmospheric river that's coming over, right, from the from the Pacific Northwest. And as funny as the name is, apparently in this storm system, a couple people have actually died. It's coming down hard.
Wow.
So yeah, and what's going to happen is it's going to hit the Great Lakes, which is supposed to like re-energize the whole thing, and that's going to hit Cleveland, like you said. It's going to hit the Jets, like you said, and it's going to hit Baltimore. So be very careful with those games, man. There we go. Official line set at 7.5 games by TD. What do you think? Over under on that today, Connor?
I think we're gonna go under because we
I
have
know.
props, we have bets, we have
I
fantasy.
know, I know, I know.
Yeah.
I try to push it along. I will say the official line is when I say, "Okay, we got a rapid fire." That's when it officially goes to, "Okay, now the line has been hit." So we'll see what we can get through, man. We're kind of quick talkers, so we might be able to get away with it. Tyler Higbee is a did not practice, but weren't really starting him anyway. I got to ask you, at this stage right now, if you had to pick just one, like let's say for DFS purposes, would you rather start Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp?
For me, it's Puka. I mean, Cooper Kupp looks kind of cooked in my mind. I mean, he out targeted him last week, but I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about him long term, to be honest.
Yeah, I am too, man. I mean, he's getting up there. And I want to ask, I usually ask it up front. Are there any props in this game that you like? Any bets you're taking before we get into fantasy?
Yeah, I did play some Zay Flowers unders. For those of you who don't know, I bet a ton of unders. It's very
Okay.
boring, but they win. So I know it's like kind of one of those things. So Zay Flowers targeted on just 17% of his routes against zone coverage, 33% against man. Rams run like 85% zone. So we're probably going to see that less, plus a lot of rain, plus like both teams are going to run the ball a lot. So I think there's like lower volume, tough matchup in that sense. So I took under 46 and a half receiving yards there.
Yeah, and I just for the people that aren't familiar, because we do talk a lot of fantasy here. Can you just give us a quick rundown of why unders hit more often than overs?
Yeah, for sure. So unders, you don't need a player to play the full game. If they get injured, you win your under. If say the quarterback gets hurt mid-game and your team can't throw the ball anymore, you likely win your under. If your player gets hurt, like there's so many different outs for an under to hit. Whereas an over, you're betting on like something needs to happen for you to win an over, and things need to go right. Whereas under is like even one or two things, game script goes wrong. I mean, the Ravens sometimes get into the second half and they just run the ball 30 times and don't throw the ball, and then like, what are you going to do? So that's why unders, I think there's just always more outs to win an under than an over.
Yeah, and mentally speaking, if everyone had the mindset like yours, which is the correct one, these lines would be so much lower than they are, right? Like they're kind of getting they want to entice us to bet the over, and obviously more money comes in on the overs than the unders because mentally speaking, you don't sit
Right.
around being the prince of darkness like yourself. But but I mean, it makes
Pretty
sense.
much.
You have a lot more outs. You have a lot more outs. So on the Raven side, so you're going under on Zay Flowers. I want to ask, so Isaiah Likely in the Mark Andrews role. He's been playing that role as of late. Obviously, he's not Mark Andrews, but this is a good spot based on my own personal rankings versus the tight end. Rams, the top 3, minimum top 5 team in terms of being a good matchup. Your own Denver Broncos behind you there being one of the best matchups. But
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Isaiah Likely, is he pretty squarely in a tight end 1, or is he scare you?
No, I think that based on his usage too last week, like you mentioned, the Mark Andrews role, good matchup. I mean, again, I think the rain is some concern, but if we're already knocking down Zay Flowers as someone who's probably not going to see a ton of work in my mind, then it's got to go somewhere. Like they're still going to pass the ball from time to time. They're still going to score touchdowns. So like, yeah, I think Likely or maybe Odell Beckham could be interesting targets in this one.
Yeah. Last question. Just give me one name, no analysis. Gus Edwards or Keaton Mitchell?
Keaton Mitchell.
I'm with you on that, dude. Just more exciting. Gus is just touchdown or nothing. So quick questions in the chat. Anime Dude wants to know if rain games, more run, right? But the wind is the bigger problem, right?
Yep.
Historically speaking.
Yeah, our buddy Chris Allen did some great research. 20 mile per hour plus wind, sustained winds leads to like over a yard per attempt drop in quarterback passing. And so we're going to see 20 plus mile per hour winds plus a lot of rain, which makes it like even worse. So it's a combo thing there.
Exactly. And for those unaware, sneakily, if there's no wind and there's snow, that actually favors the offense historically a little bit, especially some of these, like with Sean McCoy, some of these guys that live in the snow, right? It's like, and they've said it in the past, like Tom Brady has said it, that we know the play and they don't know the play. So slippery footing, that gives us an advantage. So, I mean, remember the time they hung like 50 something on the Titans. Titans were just not right. I don't even think the Titans brought the right equipment on the plane with them, right?
Had no idea.
Yeah. Dylan Fink wants to know any change to this lineup. He's got Fields, CMC, Ford, Ayuk, Diggs, Kmet, Waddle. So the questions are Stroud over Fields, yes or no? Fields or Stroud?
I think Fields.
Agree, because the Jets, right? Like you're trying to avoid that matchup.
And rain there too, so that's tough.
Yep. Do you start Singletary over CMC or Ford?
No.
I think you got this right, man. I think you got this right. That's how I have it. Tons of outs on the under ticket. Does Rams versus tight end have a lot to do with Wagner? So it's so tough with these. Like, for instance, the Bengals, it's obvious why the Bengals are bad against the tight end, because they let both their safeties walk in free agency. Like, you don't let Von Bell and Jesse Bates walk and not struggle a little bit, right? With the Rams, it's kind of twofold, where they run like the 4-3, and they have a lot of they like have a lot of guys up front and try to generate a lot of pressure, and that opens up like the passes to running backs and passes to tight ends. Like you see with the Jaguars, right? You can't run on the Jaguars, but you can throw it to the running back a million times, right? So it's just some of these teams, man, the numbers and DVOA all match up. So the Rams, easy matchup there. Chuba or Lockett, who you got?
Chuba or Lockett, full PPR. Ooh, probably Lockett. I think if you want more upside, but Chuba's a little more stable, I think.
Chuba's safe, yeah. So okay, we're gonna hit the questions in the chat. Don't worry, Chuba's safe, but I like Lockett better for the upside. We're gonna hit the questions in the chat. We got to keep pushing along on these games. So let's do Colts at Bengals. Spread is 2, over under 44.5. Do you like anything on those lines? And do you like any props in this puppy?
I kind of like the over. Both teams have just been pumping so much volume lately. Like even with Gardner Minshew, the Colts are like running up a ton of volume. Jake Browning looked really competent, I think, in his second start there. So I think that you could play plenty of overs in the prop market. I think you play the over on the total 43.5. And I kind of like this game to be like a sneaky, fun game for fantasy.
I love that. And that's the thing is I hate betting the first game for these guys, right? Like Malik Willis's first game, because sometimes you see like with Malik Willis, it just doesn't look like football sometimes with these guys that have like never played. But with the guys that we've seen play before, even a guy like Mitch Trubisky, I know that it might not be great, or Joe Flacco, but I know these guys are professional football players at least. Sometimes you get a guy like Clayton Tune go out there against the Browns, and it's like, we don't know what this is going to be. So I'm with you on this one, man. Zach Moss, wheels up this week?
I think so, yeah. I mean, massive workload, way better matchup. I just think he got kind of in trouble with the matchup last week. Amazing matchup this week. So I like him to crush this week.
Oh, yeah. This is such a waste of a good tight end matchup, right? There's no these are the Colts routes run last week. Andrew Ogletree and Will Mallory ran 13 routes out of 47, and Kylan Granson and Mo Ali Cox each ran 12. So 12, 12, 13, 13. Just
why do they do that?
I don't know, man. You know what it makes me want to do? It makes me want to go and get Jelani Woods in Dynasty, right? Where they just because it's like the jobs, whoever is even competent could take the job, and no one's doing it. So Jelani Woods, dude, shout out for him. Or maybe they'll go out and get somebody next year, right? So if you're starting someone this week, obviously Michael Pittman's pretty locked in. Alec Pierce or Josh Downs, let's say for DFS purposes.
Ooh, DFS purposes?
DraftKings, full PPR.
Yeah. Shoot. I think that we have Downs projected for more, but like Pierce saw great usage last week, deep downfield. The Bengals corners are like completely cooked. So I think like high volatile guy is probably Pierce, but it depends if you're playing cash or tournament. So yeah, I'd probably lean towards Pierce for a fun dart throw there.
Yeah, and then Downs in cash because he's the low A dot slot guy. I wish they would flip and Downs would be the full-time player and Pierce would come in for 3 wide. But I mean, Pierce is a better blocker. That's what everybody's been telling me. So what are you gonna do? I'm not a big my eye test on wide receiver blocking is not. It's not. I'll tell you, it's not up to code. That's one where I got to trust other people. So on the Bengals side, obviously Jamar Chase feeling pretty good, but do you T Higgins and Tyler Boyd in redraft leagues? Do you try and avoid that?
Yeah, we have both like wide receiver 4, right? Wide receiver 4s right now. So I guess, again, because I like the game state. So maybe if you're like desperate for a flex, but ideally not, I would say.
Yeah. Chase Brown thoughts?
Played super well, but Mixon still saw 75% of the touches, I believe. So I think until that shifts like maybe to 60-40, he's not really usable in my mind, but it was encouraging, I'd say.
Right. Yeah. Dino leagues, stash him up. Get him stashed
Definitely.
up. Yeah. All right. Before we go to the next game, hit the chat a little bit. Jonathan Santiago wants to know, pick one, Singletary, Kenneth Walker, or Sharps if they play. I think both were DNPs on Wednesday, both limited yesterday. So let's assume Walker and Sharps are both a full go. Do you go Singletary or try and pick one of those? I know that's a terrible.
That's a really tough.
We have Fantasy Alarm as sharp gamers here, so you're not going to get any slam dunk questions probably.
Yeah, no, these aren't easy. Probably Singletary, just because the matchup for Seattle is really tough regardless, and they're going to split work. If one of them plays and the other one doesn't, it's in my mind clearly one of them.
Bingo.
Like Walker or Sharp. Yep.
And done. Rowdy, one of our favorites, wants to know Rashee Rice, Roshan Johnson, Khalil Shakir. Also have Amari, but he's probably out.
Yeah, and then it looks like they said sit one. So I would start Rashee. I think he's like an auto starter almost every week. And then Shakir's in flux because of Dawson Knox coming back a little bit. But then Roshan has Deonta Foreman coming back as well. So I don't know. For me, it's kind of a coin flip, but I'm curious your thoughts.
Dude, the Matt Eberflus said the worst possible thing when they asked him why. So they asked him why Roshan played 70% of the snaps. And he said, we decide that based on who has a better week of practice. I know, bro. I know. So now I don't know. Now it's like we need the beat writers to try and we need to like pay some beat writer to be like, hey, so
I slid in some DMs before the show. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I slid in some DMs asking like, what's the Bears rotation? And all I get was they're riding the hot hand. Even worse, like not so ambiguous. No idea.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, we need the beat writers to be like, hey, so who had a good week of practice? How was Roshan in practice this week? Just try and get anything for us. But yeah, that's tough, bro. So yeah, there you go. Last one in the chat. Graham Edwards wants to know full PPR need 3. AJ Dillon, DeAndre Swift, Tyler Lockett, Elijah Moore, Dallas Goedert. So sit 2 there. Not tight end premium, just full PPR.
Full PPR. I'm probably going Swift as one for sure. Probably Swift, Lockett, Moore, I guess. I'd probably said Dillon and Goddard. I don't know. I'm kind of an AJ Dillon hater though. So
me too. I'm a hater on Dillon as well. And I'll say this: keep an eye on the weather for Elijah Moore. If it really is crazy, then maybe start Goddard. But otherwise, just start those guys because Moore got peppered last week with no Amari Cooper. So pretty solid there. All right, next game: Bucs at Falcons. Falcons favored by 1.5. Over under 41. Last I saw. What do you got here, man? Any bets? Any props?
Yeah, this one's a tough one. I kind of lean towards the Falcons here, but I keep going back and forth because they're going to be missing AJ Terrell. Like I think the Bucs probably have success passing on them. But on the other side, I also think that Atlanta, if they want to throw, will have a ton of success here. So Bijan props are interesting here. Drake London bounce back week I think could be interesting. So there's a lot of different ways to play it. I don't have anything official yet, but I think there's a couple of good looks in this one.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out for your lines on that. Kyle Pitts, 90% route participation, 30% target share. 29 and change is what it officially was, which is 8 targets when it's the team that throws like this. You know what I mean? It's not like 15. Right. You know, with 30% for a guy like Keenan Allen looks a lot different than 30% on the Falcons. But still, I don't know. Promising usage. Hard to trust this week, but I don't know. You stashing him at all?
Yeah, I think it's bull case, but I'm a little bit worried that was like matchup specific because they were avoiding the Jets outside corners, like targeting the middle of the field, and that was kind of like. That's what I'm worried about. But he's a good player. I think the matchup, like you can tell yourself a story about it. I'm just not all the way in. You know what I mean?
That's the thing about, and I've been trying to tell people that with the stories, and it's what makes our job so hard is because we try and look at the whole thing. And then in hindsight, people always come back with just one of the stories. Right.
Right.
So like if Evan Ingram does well this week, right, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, on one hand, he's got terrible matchup, the worst possible matchup for tight ends. And he's got a backup quarterback and it's in a rainstorm. right? So you could say that's all bad, but you could also say that CJ Beathard might lean on him, or you could say that because of the rain, they could do short passes. And no matter what happens, somebody on one side is going to come back to me with a narrative and be like, I can't believe you had this guy so high or you had this guy so low. It's like it makes our job hard, but that's why that's why we come on this show and try and look at all of it and get that out there out front. Now that I've said all that, nobody can say a damn thing to me about everything.
That's how it goes. We got the disclaimer out there, you know?
Exactly. You say enough words, you protect yourself. So Mike Evans, you're starting. Rachaad White, you're starting. What are your thoughts on Chris Godwin and Cade Otton? Because Cade Otton, I thought we could trust, gives us a goose egg in the week we need it probably most, right? Because so many bye weeks, so many injuries. A lot of people were actually finally starting this guy for once. And then Godwin's been just kind of, I think he's got like the neck or whatever. But I mean, what do you see on these guys?
Yeah, the coaching staff has been pretty vocal this week about saying that they need to get Godwin more involved. That they want to get him back on track. So if you want to buy into that narrative, I think that there's plenty of room to do so. So I don't think that he's like the worst start in fantasy or like, sneaky under the radar play in DFS or anything. But Otton here specifically, like you mentioned, coming off of a bad game, still ran a ton of routes. Great matchup here. I believe Atlanta's allowing the most targets to tight ends in the league right now. I mean, he went 4 passes, I think, last time, maybe 5 passes last time. So it was a pretty good matchup for him. So I don't mind him. I mean, he's not going to like pop off or anything, but it's a solid spot.
Right. 33 of 35 routes, man, all exercise week. But Mike Evans was just on another planet, so it didn't really matter there. Next game, Lions, Bears, division game. I want to ask you, do you shy away from, because I know some people, some people have like hard and fast rules. I imagine you don't, but I know some people are like, I don't like betting division games. I don't like taking division games on the road. Do you lean into any of that at least, or are you just every game you look at it and say, hey, I'm taking this from square one and we'll figure it all out?
Yeah, almost every game is a square one look. I would say that there's some interesting things what happen where like a West Coast team is traveling east and then playing at noon. Like their body clocks just like aren't really that good. And like you've seen a couple times over the years where like a team will just like lose some fluke game where they're like way better than the other team and they just drop a game there. So that's the only thing that I would guess pay attention to from like a system standpoint. But yeah, this game will be interesting here. As a guy who lives in Chicago here, people are excited about Justin Fields. Last 3 games against Detroit, 100 yards rushing or more in every single one. And I think that they can push the ball further down the field. They ran 70 screens last week against Minnesota. But I think that was more game plan specific because Minnesota likes to blitz a lot. So I think they push the ball downfield a little bit more, have some success. I think Justin Fields 100 plus rushing yards is like plus 400 on DraftKings before the show. So I think that's a fun look, if you're looking for a long shot there.
Yeah, and that's a fun play, right? Like, rooting for those plays there's obviously bets that are more fun than other ones, no question about it. 100%. The one that I've been doing lately that's so much fun that I didn't realize until this year because I never used to do them is betting on and I don't know, maybe it's a sucker bet, but betting over on tackle props. It's much like combined tackles and just out there, like on Thanksgiving, we bet the over on Quay Walker. And I was there with like all my little cousins and stuff. And I was like, there's our guy right there, number 8. And all of us are looking at the screen and we're going, get him. Like every play, we're like, get him. And then when we fight, like my cousins were taking it so seriously. They were like, does that count? I was like, I don't know. We'll have to check. So
we got to get you in our Discord because our guy Ryan Noonan releases tackle props. He has his own tackle projections now. Like he loves tackle props, and the people are going wild for him. So I blindly tail all those. I know very little about it, and I just blindly tail them.
Dude, I'm gonna have to jump in on that because I love that stuff, man. It is so much fun, dude. Especially when they make a big hit, you're like, let's go. Right?
Devin Witherspoon tackle overs are just so legit. He's just got the dog in him. He just like lays people out, and it's sick.
Oh yeah. That's the best, dude. Especially those guys that get sacks because they're in the backfield. That is the real get 'em moment, right? When the QB's trying to get away, dude. Those are great. So on the Lions side, we only ask tough questions here. So let me ask you: Gibbs game or Monty game?
I'll go Gibbs game. Bears bad against receiving backs. Run defense has been pretty stout. I think Monty sees more carries, but Gibbs has more fantasy points.
Yeah, third most receptions to running backs per game. So, and that's how we've been surviving against the Jaguars because they're, the worst in that. So I like that. Good. We're on the same page there. On the Bears side, I'll just mention to people out there, Cole Kmet, be very careful with this player. Every once in a while, they have him block, right? Blocking on 8 pass plays, 7, 8. Against the Raiders, he blocked on 8 pass plays, didn't catch 1 pass. So he is involved to a certain degree, But every once in a while, they just say, hey, like, especially Aiden Hutchinson comes down because, like, with it was Max Crosby, they were like, we need your help, right? I think at the time Braxton Jones was out, so it's not as scary now as it once was, but just be very careful with that player. As far we already talked about the Bears RB nightmare, so let's move on from this one. Billy the Kid wants to know Nico Collins or DJ Moore while we're talking about the Bears here.
Ooh, I'm a little bit lower on Nico, even though I think that he's going to see like an insane amount of volume. I just think that the game state with the weather and with the matchup against the Jets is going to see Sauce or DJ Reed most of the time. And I really like DJ Moore in a better matchup. I think you can pick either one. Honestly, both are good ones, but I would lean towards DJ here.
Good. I'm with you on that. I'm fading Nico. Nico's been one of the guys that fluctuates like crazy in my rankings, just based on
his prop under 73 receiving yards this week. I mean, just crazy high.
73.
Yeah, wild, right?
Keenan Allen's prop was lower than that, and he plays out of the slot. What are they thinking is gonna? What are they thinking happen here?
I don't know. In the pouring rain, Stroud's just gonna ball, I guess. I mean, like against the Jets.
I don't know, dude. That's that. I'm gonna trail you on that one. Geez. What book is that with? Do you remember?
I took that at FanDuel. It should still be widely available around like 70 though, I think. So
yeah. Okay. I'll check that out. Next game, Panthers at Saints. 5.5 is the spread. 37.5 is the over under. Let me know if you see anything different, obviously, from what I'm saying here. But anything in this one as far as props, taking spreads, over unders?
Not specifically with the sides or totals here, but I think the Jonathan Mingo, Adam Thielen thing going on here is pretty big for the prop streets because Thielen, was dominating target share early in the season. Then we see Jonathan Mingo with the new coaching staff, I guess not new coaching staff, but interim coaching staff basically coming in here. And like, he's been the focal point of a lot of different like plays that they're drawing up, screens here and there, doing a lot of things that we saw Thielen do earlier. So for me, it's kind of a stay away in a lot of senses, but I think it's could be an interesting game to look at. You got any takes on the Thielen Mingo?
I love that stuff. Like anytime there's a catalyst like that, like how did we get rookie Amon-Ra St. Brown? Right? It wasn't just that he all of a sudden. It wasn't just that they were like, oh, this guy in the corner, we totally forgot we had this guy. Like there was guys getting hurt. They changed who was calling the plays. They changed his alignment. Those are the catalysts that kind of create these late season things, right? The Hunter Renfrow when Darren Waller was hurt. And like now in this situation, you got these guys, Frank Reich and Duke Staley that truly believe they were going to win this year. You don't sign a 33-year-old Adam Thielen if you don't think you're going to win. You don't trade away your first pick, right? So they truly thought they're going to win and they didn't. So the coaching staff said, you guys are done. And with that, the babies kind of go out with the bathwater, especially Miles Sanders, man, right? He's Deuce Staley, best friends, killed me because I have him everywhere. But like that's blown up now, right? And they're looking around and saying, hey, you know what? We probably want Adam Thielen because we gave him a 3-year deal, at least 2 years. I don't think they can get out of it until at least next year. So they probably say, hey, why are we going to run this guy in the ground? Let's see who's going to make this team. Let's get some Mingo going. They should get some DJ Chark. They should use Amir Smith-Marset a little bit, right? Like do some live tryouts. The Dolphins did that when they were tanking for Tua, right? One game, Isaiah Ford came out and played 50 snaps, and then they cut him. They literally said, let's see what Isaiah can do. Okay, bye, Isaiah. Who's next? All right, Preston Williams, you're up, right? Like I think this team might start doing some of that. So I'm with you on that. On the other side, a lot of interesting stuff going on. Taysom Hill has not practiced with a foot injury, so everyone monitor that. Like, if he doesn't, today is a big day for Taysom Hill. But what do you expect to? Yeah, massive, right? Like, I mean, if he doesn't practice today, then you're already starting the riskiest player in the history of fantasy football. But now you're going to start him not practicing and playing with a quarterback that Derek Carr, the dink and dunk of Derek Carr, is much better for Taysom Hill than the huck it chuck it of Jameis Winston. There's no question. I mean, Derek Carr only has 2 touchdowns over that were longer than 20 yards all year. So, but what are your thoughts in general, non-Taysom thoughts about this game with Jameis and Olave, Kamara? Where are you feeling?
Yeah, I think that if Taysom's out, we might see more Jamal Williams. We saw Taysom get like 13 carries or something last week, so I think they're probably going to run, and they don't want to run Kamara like 25 times. So I think we'll probably see him see a little slight increase, and then Jamal probably in the 7 to 10 carry range, I would guess, if Taysom's out for sure. And then I do think that Jameis, playing would be great for Olave, as you mentioned already, like just Jameis chucking it and like kind of like feeding him deep downfield. It's way more fun to watch too. So I think that could be interesting here. I expect them to run the ball a bunch though, because I don't think they want Jameis doing that. It's just like part of it's like ingrained in who he is. So like, they don't want him doing that though, because he's a little bit more risky. And don't think that they need to be that risky.
Yeah, I'm fully with you on that, man. Like I think that we're gonna make an FFPC team shortly, and I'll tell you right now, Alvin Kamara is the guy I want in there. He's the guy that I want in there. So let's finish up the 1:00 games, and then we'll jump in and make that team. For those out there, if you want to make a team with us or help us out, go to myffpc.com. Use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. And I've actually noticed I've been encouraging people. I'm like, you know what my lineup is. Why don't you jump in the same contest and you get an advantage? I've actually noticed twice now. Jack sends in 100%. He uses the same username, Jackstraw, on everywhere underdog. So I see him in there. I'm like, okay, the fantasy alarm guys are getting in on the action. But yeah, there's a QR code right there. Get set up with that. We're going to make one of those teams. That is quickly becoming one of my favorite weekly sites. Have you done the weekly ones on FFPC before?
I've done the playoff challenge a couple times. I haven't done the weekly stuff yet, but I was checking it out. It looks pretty fun.
So the playoff challenge is there. Like that's the primo one. We're definitely going to do a lot of that, but it's the same rules. Right. It's basically typical scoring for fantasy football, tight end premium, because all their stuff is, and you can use any player you want, except you can't use two guys from the same team. So pretty interesting there. Yeah, that's the whole deal. So definitely get in there, check that out. Next game here, Jaguars at Browns, and this is the one most likely to be affected by this crazy weather, right? So as far as weather like this goes, dude, what's your read into it? If it is as bad as they say, where it's like 20-mile-an-hour winds and rain, who benefits and who gets hurt the most here?
Yeah, it's just tough. I would say that I would tend to lean on the team with the better ground game. But the issue is that the Jags' run defense has been fairly solid up until last week. They kind of got rinsed by Chase Brown and a little bit of mix in there. So I would lean towards the Browns having some advantage there slightly, but it's just so many moving pieces with this game because we have, does Trevor Lawrence play? The birds are chirping that he's leaning towards playing this week, from what I'm hearing, which is crazy to me. And then on the other side, you have, a lot of moving pieces on their end as well. So like, I don't know what we're going to expect with weather, with Trevor Lawrence, with any of that. So for me, it's like a complete stay away if possible. But maybe like you mentioned here with the Evan Ingram, like I might just smash some unders on some Evan Ingram props, depending on what those release at. But again, depends on Trevor Lawrence, depends on the weather.
Sometimes, because I know weather gets overblown a lot. Sometimes I like early in the week to like sneak in on an over. If the over, it was at 30 and a half. Now it's already up to 32 and a half. So it sounds like people are kind of pulling that same move. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I said it before, Evan Ingram, this is a very scary spot. I mean, backup QB, and the Browns are letting up I tweeted this one earlier, 5.9 DraftKings points per game is the lowest that we've seen in 17 years. So definitely don't use 2006 Patriots. And I went through, and most years the team that lets up the fewest points is at like 7, sometimes even 8. So like it's crazy. They've only up 27 receptions to all tight ends combined. And here's the craziest part of that is they played Mark Andrews twice, and they played George Kittle, and they played Trey McBride. So it's not like they haven't played anybody, dude. It's scary town.
George Kittle had like 3 yards.
Yeah, like one catch. I think it was like one catch for 9 yards or something. I don't know, man. I don't like that. Yeah. So, and then Njoku was doing great with DTR, but Flacco, as you know, he likes to go downfield. So I don't know if I love Njoku with Flacco. Rest of the season, I think we want DTR back.
Yeah, probably for Njoku. It was weird though, because Harrison Bryant saw 5 catches on like 15 routes, and like Njoku ran like 30 something routes. So maybe I just chalk it up to that. I mean, he still saw some targets. It's just that Flacco was so inefficient with those. I mean, same with Elijah Moore too. He saw like 12 targets, and caught like 4 balls.
Dude. Well, what are you gonna do, dude? That's a Flacco show when it rolls into town. Yeah, yep. I will say though, you said it with Jameis. There's different kinds of quarterbacks where like at least Flacco and Jameis are fun to watch, right? Like with Mac Jones, and like Zach Wilson, it's just like sad bad, right? Like
Tim Boyle, I mean, just embarrassing. Like, how can you honestly look your fans in the face and like say that this is a real option that we're trotting out there? I mean, that was so pathetic.
It's sad bad versus like fun bad or like crazy bad. So
Yep.
Ryan Fitzpatrick was fun bad, right? Like, yeah.
100%.
Matt Schaub, pick sixes. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anthony's got a question. Komet or tight end from free agency, and the free agent tight ends are Kraft and Otten. I'll tell you this, I don't love the Tucker Kraft week feels like a trap here. He played 61 of 64 snaps, but he blocked on 8 pass plays. So he actually only ran 30 of 40 routes. And the Giants quietly have the personnel to be good versus the tight end, and they have been good. So Bobby Okereke and Xavier McKinney, like that's kind of the good part of that team over the middle. So
Yeah.
but would you go Otten over Komet?
Maybe. I mean, we have Komet projected for more, but I think that's just because, I mean, he projects for more, but you made a good point about him blocking more potentially, especially if the neutralized pass rush. And I think that's why the Giants so good against tight ends is that they blitz like almost half the time. And so if that happens, like you need guys to stand and block and like max protect instead of like having
Tucker Kraft did that last week. They 100% said, he played the whole game, but I mean, eight, just think about it. If you throw 40 times like they did, it glosses over it. But if you throw 25, 30 times and you're blocking on 6, 7 plays, might as well be on the sideline, dude. So, yeah, the only 2 times, Connor, have I seen a tight end block on more than 15% of their pass plays throughout the season and finish top 5. Actually, sorry, 3 times. Can you venture a guess as to who? 2 of them are probably the best two-way tight ends we've ever seen.
It's got to be George Kittle has to be one, right? He blocks a ton.
He's done it one time. It was 15.6%. Yeah.
Really?
So, yes.
Interesting. Like Tony Gonzalez was like him. You said one of the best ever.
Keep going with best ever, and good blockers too.
Like
Gronk is one.
Davis.
Gronk is one. The other one, you're a Broncos fan? The other one played for the Broncos.
He's like, okay, so nope. Sharp, right?
This one's not a best ever. He was played. The reason he finished top 5 is because his quarterback threw 55 touchdown passes that year.
Oh, Johnson.
You got it. You're right there, dude.
He had like 10 touchdowns.
Yes,
Julian Thomas.
Dude. It's Orange Julius, baby. Orange Julius had 13 touchdowns that year. So yeah, it doesn't happen. So pass blocking is the killer of otherwise good tight ends. Anyway, let's do the one last 1:00 game, and then we'll make an FFPC team. So Texans versus Jets. Again, this one could be weather affected. The Texans are favored, but only by 3.5, and then 33.5 point total. So that to me reads like a Jets black hole game, right? Where like the defense is good enough to stop whatever offense they're going against, and it just muddies everything up, right?
Yeah, I have very low expectations just in general about this game because I think that Stroud could have some success over the middle and be okay, but it's like there's going to be no pushback from the Jets. So like, are we really going to see, them going back and forth scoring here? I kind of see the Texans probably just getting up, maybe 10 points, 7 points, and then just running with Singletary, running with Dameon Pierce, and then kind of just like calling it a day here because I mean, Zach Wilson starting again. He's definitely better than Tim Boyle, but I mean, he's still not very good. So
I'm with you, man. It's like Breece Hall if you have to, Garrett Wilson if you have to, and Jets D if you have to, right? Like there's nothing there. Yeah. And then same goes for the Texans where it's like, I got a one league where I'm starting CJ Stroud no matter what every week because I got no other options. You know what I mean? But beyond that, you kind of aren't forced to start anybody. So yeah, I say for our FFPC lineup, we're not using anybody from the Texans and Jets this week. And I don't think we should use anybody from the Jaguars and Browns unless maybe a defense. But let's jump in there now, folks. This is what we do every Friday. There's so many other, sites, things that people do. We like to do the unique one here, the FFPC, the weekly leagues, $35 or $200 entries. The one I like, and you can do 10 teams, 30 teams, or 100 teams. The sweet spot for me is $35 and 30 teams because if you finish top 5, you get, $100, fourth or fifth, third, you get like a couple $100. If you win, you get like 500. So the way I look at it, Connor, is if we, come in fourth or fifth, we take that money, you and me get some drinks at the expo. If we win, then we get them for the 4-for-4 people and for the fantasy alarm people who buy the bar out. And the rule on this show has always been, if somebody throws out a name in the chat that we use and you go to the expo, you're getting at least a drink. So let's get in there,
Love
hit
it.
it up. I'm gonna pull it up right now. But yeah, use promo code Coop when you go and get set up. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more, and you definitely want to get set up and get some money in there for when they do the playoff challenge, because as you mentioned, that's like their flagship one, and that's the one where it's the same rules, but you have to pick the guys for the entire playoffs, right? So now you got to kind of map out what you think is going to happen. It's pretty wild. So yeah, right off the bat, this week when I look around, we have to use a. There's a few questions we got to get out of the way first, like this one. We have to use a chief, and we're not going to use probably Rashee Rice. So it's kind of Mahomes, Kelsey, or maybe if we want to get sneaky, Pacheco. But I kind of feel like it's got to be Mahomes or Kelsey.
Yeah, I would lean towards Kelsey. I mean, he's crushed the Bills. I feel like it's just a great matchup, you know. Yeah, and he's their primary target. I expect a lot from this game. So yeah, I would lean towards
in
Kelsey.
DraftKings points. They've played 5 because they play in the playoffs. They've played 5 times over the last 3 years. He's averaged 25 DraftKings points per game. Average, and the fewest he's had is 17.7. So crush on that.
Wild.
Yeah. So crush is an understatement, actually. 25. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
man. So all right. At running back, I already said I wanted to get Alvin Kamara in there. We got to get a 40. So this is where it gets crazy, is because like on other things, you sit there and you say, oh, let's stack it up. Like let's stack up, let's stack up Tua and Tyreek Hill. Here you can't do that. So let's say we got to do a 49er. Ooh, do we go Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel? I mean, we go Brock Purdy. I don't like Kittle.
In my mind, yeah, I like McCaffrey here just because I think he's a differentiator at the position too this week. Like looking at all these other guys, I think that he's a pretty substantial differentiator there. If not, I like Deebo too for receivers, is pretty solid. But I'm open to going off the board too.
Put it out. Here's the thing: the first couple of weeks, because I hadn't really done a lot of these, we were doing a lot of that, being like, "Oh, we got to differentiate our lineup." You actually don't.
Yeah.
In this, you do. So it's so funny. There were a couple where we had like the same lineup as the team that won. One week we had virtually the same lineup as the team that won, except the only difference was we chose Austin Eckler, they chose Keenan Allen, and they also chose a better defense than us. So you really do want to just start the chalk. So I think we do just start Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, let's do it.
For wide receiver, who are the smash plays? Tyreek Hill. Do we want to use Tua or Tyreek Hill?
I think probably Tyreek. The Dallas conversation is tough between CD or Dak too, because both of those are just, I think, such great plays.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's think about quarterbacks for a second. Do we want to use CD or Dak? Do we want to use Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown? Like you can use Jalen Hurts. Chat wants to use Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to that too. I mean, because what else would we do with Buffalo? Diggs or, I mean, probably not Kincaid at this point. So it'd be Diggs or Josh Allen.
I say we use Josh Allen, dude.
So
there you go, Anthony. If you end up at the Expo, we win this one. I'll let you know next week. Anthony threw Josh Allen in the chat. He's in the lineup, man. You're part of the squad right now. Folks out there, let us know who you think are the absolute smash plays. I mean, I'm surprised no one just every week someone should say Christian McCaffrey, because we're probably going to get him in there. Other wide receivers, Keenan Allen against Denver. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
You said CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yeah, I love
Easy
CeeDee
enough.
this
now,
week.
do we go Justin Jefferson?
Ooh. I go back and forth on this. I have just no idea what to expect. Do you have any take on what to expect here? You think he's 100% full go or what?
I think they wouldn't have him out there if he wasn't a full go. I think he's let's get him in. Let's get him in, dude.
Yeah.
And then we need a Lion against Chicago. Do we go with one of the RBs or do we go with Amon-Ra St. Brown? I don't think I want to go too tight. It's also tight end premium too. So, but the last time Laporta played the Bears, he only had 18 yards.
Interesting. Probably Amon-Ra St. Brown then. I mean, we can stack the whole lineup with wideouts. I mean, that's totally fine.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like at running back. Oh wait, let's put one more running back in. Let's put in Zach Moss.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There it is. That the thing is that does differentiate us because you got to scroll down to find him. But I have him ranked running back like 2, 3 this week.
I think we have him at 2 as well.
Perfect. All right, let's see what we got for defense here. Not going to start Cincinnati. Green Bay against New York is an option. Wait, do we not have an Eagle in the lineup?
I don't think we have an Eagle.
God. That's
a
mistake. Let's take Justin Jefferson out and put AJ Brown in.
All right. Yeah, we should probably do that. Yeah.
And we'll just tell ourselves that Justin Jefferson's the trap play this week. Right? It's crazy though, because it's like these lineups, you can do whatever you want, you know? That's why it makes it so much fun. Like, look at this team. It's what a wagon.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody's going to beat us though with just a tweaked version of this. Probably a fantasy alarm member. Right. So defense, we need. What do you chat? Where are you guys at on this?
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm trying to think here. Let's hear it. We have defensive rankings. So I'm going to use these to lean on a crutch here. I haven't done something like this before. I mean, Packers, you said, is available still, right? That could be good.
Do that. Let's just get that in there. I like that. Against Tommy DeVito and the boys. Yeah. And then we need a kicker. So we're not going to start Cleveland, Jacksonville. We're not going to start any of these rain game kickers. We can go Seattle against San Francisco. Or we can go Justin Tucker against the Rams. I think that's it.
Ooh,
I think that's it right
nice.
there. All right, boom. That's the lineup, folks. I think I'm feeling good about this one. I think this is the one. Let me just move. Here's a mistake that we made earlier, Pat. When I played it with Pat Fitzmaurice, we accidentally had a guy in a wide receiver spot instead of the flex, and it didn't let us pivot. On Monday night, sometimes you got to look at, because you can change it up until the end. Sometimes you look at it and it's like the guy next to you, you think he's got the same guy as you, and you pivot to a different play. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff with this. So I'm going to fix that right now. But guys, go out there. If you want to get in and make mega teams like this, win money, compete against us, go to myffpc.com, use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more if you're a first time depositor, and you can get in here, ball with us, and definitely make sure you're set up for playoffs, because that's the fun one. That's the best one. So cool stuff, man. Who did I take out? Tyreek Hill on Monday. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool, man. Let's get back to it. So far, we've gotten through the 1 o'clock slates. Not bad, dude. Honestly, not bad. I've been pushing us along as best I can.
We rolled. Yeah, we rolled through it, built a fire lineup, about to win some money for everyone at Canton, for 4-4 fantasy along.
Let's go. And Anthony, dude. So, yeah.
And Anthony.
Cho, last minute, Cho gets in, wants Coop. Sorry, man. Lineup's already in. Yeah, so he wants to know, what's the lineup? The lineup is this. Josh Allen at quarterback. Running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, and we have Zach Moss in one of the flex spots. We have CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. At tight end, we've got Travis Kelce. Kickers, Justin Tucker. And defense is the Packers going up against Tommy DeVito and the boys. So, yeah, that's a spicy meet the ball, man. Yeah, there's some Hall of Famers in there. There's a lot going on there. So I'm feeling shootouts across the board. We avoided all the rain games somehow. So I like that. I like that a lot. Next game here on the slate, 4 p.m., Seahawks versus 49ers. 49ers favored by 11 from what I'm seeing, and 47-point total. So it looks like they're basically saying 49ers win, but the Seahawks never give up. Is that what 47 is that what 47 is here?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't know. I struggle with this game because I want to back the Seahawks. I think that they're better than what the market has been telling us, but I don't know, man. The 49ers just absolutely throttled them last time around, and like the same matchup advantages exist there. So for me, it's just like a complete stay away on that end. Maybe bet some Geno pass attempt overs if Charbonnet or Walker are like banged up. I have that on my list to fire on. I want to make sure that they're not like both fully healthy randomly. Like, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Well, I mean, I'm done bashing the Seahawks. Last year, I bashed the Seahawks on Twitter. I was like, no chance they beat the Broncos the first matchup. And then they did. Yep. And I had every Seahawks fan. Dude, the Seahawks mascot Blitz was in my mentions, like dogging me, dude. Like every Seahawks fan under the sun found this tweet. It was a lot of fun, honestly. But like, so funny, dude. Blitz, bro. Yeah. So yeah, me and Blitz are not friends. It's funny how that happens.
That's great. I haven't heard that before. A mascot talking trash to you. That's pretty wild.
I mean, the thing is, I put some stuff out there. I kind of asked for it. Like, I had Blitz talking trash to me last year. Alante Taylor was in my mentions this year, on a bet that we won as well. Like, he's like, take your bet back, little boy, or something like that, where Yeah. We bet Josh Downs. I was like over 4.5 receptions. Alontae Taylor has been terrible in the slot, and I put his stats. That's what I'm saying.
Sucks. He's like the worst.
So the funny thing is,
the
after the game, he retweets it and goes, "Take your bet back, little boy." And I go, "Alontae, not sure." Yeah. I go, "I hate to break it to you, Alontae, but he had 7 receptions." Like we hit our bet in the first half, Alontae. So like,
yeah, I think I bet that too. I remember this.
Whatever,
so
dude,
good.
it's but I'll give him credit for this. Only like 3 of them came against Alontae, which still isn't even good, right? Like, but whatever. But anyway, I want to get your thoughts on one big question on this one. We're probably gonna have to go rapid fire. We probably have to go rapid fire after this game. I'll include this game. So we made it through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, over. Let's go, baby. Yeah.
Over.
We did it.
Let's go.
But Geno Smith for you, is he the quarterback for this team in 2024 and beyond, or should they consider making a move?
I think these next few games are going to determine that. If they win, go to the playoffs, have success, he'll stay. If not, I think they're going to be making moves here.
Because the team is built to compete now, right? And they showed a lot of. They gave him the contract, and then they went out and they drafted a wide receiver and a running back. Like that, if that doesn't tell you this team is trying to win now, I don't know what does. 49ers, we don't have to analyze. They have 5 players, right? And Kyle Juszczyk, and you start all 5 of them. So you start Purdy, you start CMC, you start Ayuk, you start Debo, and you start Kittle. Kittle worries us, but like Kittle is a player where you can't afford to start him and you can't afford to not start him, right? So what are you going to do?
Yep. Boom bust.
Right.
You'll see.
Like, but he's so crazy efficient with his limited targets that his yards per route run is like 3. You know what I mean? So like, what are you gonna? It is. I think it's like 2.9 or something, dude. Like, so you just start him. Vikings, 3-point favorites over the Raiders. 40-point over under. I don't know, man. Is this a sucker bet? I feel like the Vikings are better than the Raiders by like a lot.
Yeah, that's where I would lean too. I think the Vikings are going to blitz like Aiden O'Connell's face off here. We saw him do it against like bad opponents, like Tyson Bagent. They blitz like 90% of the time or something like that. It was like stupid, crazy high. So you're going to see a lot of the same here, and offensively should have a ton of success, I think, with Justin Jefferson coming back.
Yeah, I feel good about it. The Raiders are an easy one for fantasy. Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs if you got him, and then Jacoby Myers if you have to. Michael Mayer is more of a long-term stash. We've talked about that ad nauseum, so I'm not gonna have you get on that, especially because we got to get through these games here. Broncos at Chargers. Anything here? -2.5, 44-point over under.
Broncos at Chargers. Honestly, not a whole lot here. I think that Keenan Allen may be good here. Depends on, I think, Surtain's like health. I think he should be good to go. I don't know. We'll check back in on that later in the week. Also, Josh Palmer, if he's good to go, I think he makes a massive difference for this Chargers offense here. They need someone to like clear the field and open up things for Keenan Allen. And I mean, God forbid, maybe Quentin Johnston.
I've been calling him QJ Chark. Which is not, it's kind of funny. Right though, because he's big, fast, no separation, doesn't come down with contested catches. It's like, oops. I will say, I want to ask you from a betting standpoint, and this is kind of a divisive topic, because some people love him, some people hate him. What's your thought on just the anytime touchdown in general?
So I think that they're mostly sucker bets, but I think that I will bet them in certain situations where a starter is going to be out and the backup lines are in. So like if we know that someone's going to be out or is like trending towards out, but like the backup running back is like 10-1 anytime touchdown, I'll probably bet that kind of stuff. Because that's exploitable in my opinion. I haven't had like crazy success with it, but theoretically it makes sense.
So wait a second. It was 8.5 was the over under, not 7. Oh no, it was 7.5. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I was looking at chat. Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. And I'll tell you this, it's like the meme, that's bait, right? Anytime I see a bet where you can't bet the under, I immediately go, that's bait, right?
Yeah, one-way markets. It's all bait.
But of course, if they allowed us to bet under on anytime touchdowns, you would make a killing on that, right?
Yeah, I saw a Sleeper or one of those pick'em apps allows you to start doing them. No touchdown bets on any single player, and you can parlay them. But the odds are just horrible. I mean, it's like,
I will tell you, the reason that it came to mind is because Courtland Sutton. If I'm going to bet an anytime touchdown, it might be Courtland Sutton right now, the way he's been playing. Right? Yeah, very close.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Touchdown machine.
Bills Chiefs. I got one simple question for you on this one. Who wins this football game? Yeah.
Oh man.
It's simple, but it's hard.
Yeah, my lean is Chiefs and the over, but it's narrow. I love both teams. I'm just not a believer in this Bills defense at all at this point.
I just feel like the Bills should have, and I love Dalton Kincaid like a son, but like they should have gotten another wide receiver somehow. They should have done something because
Definitely.
they have a great role in the offense that Emmanuel Sanders and John Brown were playing, right? With their speed. And Gabe Davis just isn't quite that. I think they needed somebody. Yeah, they should have got Brandon Cooks. That's what what I mean. Like somebody like that on the outside. But enough about that. I mean, I'm a Patriots fan, so I don't know why I'm lamenting the Bills not making better roster decisions. But
we want good football. It's nothing
exactly
to
for real. You know what I mean? Because that team is so top heavy. Obviously, with virtually every team, if the quarterback goes down, the team is done. But there's a few teams like if Stephon Diggs goes down, season's over. Whereas a few of these other teams, you can get away with it. You know what I mean? The Eagles lost Dallas Goedert. Fine. The 49ers are always missing one player, but they're fine. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. Sunday Night Football, Eagles Cowboys. Who wins this one?
Who wins? I like the Cowboys to win. I also like the over in this one. I think the over is both the Cowboys offense is just like matching up perfectly to exploit this Eagles defense, I think, which is a little bit overrated. That being said, I think that the Eagles have plenty of success offensively too. So I don't know if the Cowboys cover, but I think that they win. And then, I'd like this game to go over here with a lot of scoring on both sides, maybe a couple turnovers.
Yeah. So we got to get out because Blitz is coming up next. Here's what we're going to do. There's 2 Monday Night Football games this week. So people go over, follow Connor on Twitter, and check out what he's going to be throwing out there. I'm calling right now. You got to throw out some prop bets for these Monday games for your new followers coming over from Fantasy Alarm when that comes around. Tell everybody where they can find your stuff and what you got going on, my man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. You can find me on Twitter at Connor Alen NFL. I release 10 to 15 player prop bets over at 44.com in our Discord. And you can find me on the Twitter streets and ask any questions. DMs are always open.
Man, dude, I appreciate you. And we'll definitely get you back on next year for sure.
100%,
all right, everybody.
100%.
Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for hanging out with us. Go get set up at myffpc.com. Use promo code Coop. Tony, thank you behind the glass. Everybody, stay tuned. Blitz is coming up right after this on this channel. So like, subscribe, get those notifications on. And first and foremost, have a good weekend.